Hey guys, quick note about the episode this week. Since I'm all over the place this long weekend and Ed's in the US of A, we didn't have time to record a show this time around. I've been in tears about it all day, but to cover this egregious gap in our commitment to consistent audio production, we're going to rerun one of our most popular episodes from Season 5 called Don't Be That Guy, Expat Stereotypes to Avoid. Hope you enjoy. We'll be back to our regular whimsical shenanigans and recalcitrant avocations next week. See you then. On this episode, we discuss 7 common stereotypes that expats can often fall into.
So if you want a list of 7 expats you don't want to become, you'll dig this episode of the Bangkok Podcast.
Sawadee krap, and welcome to the Bangkok Podcast. My name is Greg Jorgensen, a Canadian who came to Thailand in 2001 wearing Teva sandals and nylon pants with zippers around the knees, and try as I might, have yet to eclipse that fashion high.
That was your peak, man.
I did, yeah, it was awesome.
And I'm Ed Knuth, an American who came to Thailand on a 1-year teaching contract 20 years ago. Fell in love with Thai people thinking I was so good just because I left a tip. So I've never left.
What's the old saying? A tip is the rating of your personality type? I don't know.
It's funny. I feel like we haven't talked about tips in a while. I think in general, Thai people just don't tip very much.
That's right.
Okay, we want to say a quick thank you to one of our patrons, Jeff Allen, who supports us at the show shout-out level. Stick around after we're done talking about some of the more common expat stereotypes to avoid if you want to stay sane in Thailand, to hear why Jeff shall be henceforth known as Bangkok Podcast's leather guru.
Yeah, daddy.
That sounds exciting.
Sure does.
We want to give you a big thanks to all of our patrons who support the show. Patrons get a whole bunch of cool stuff, including our ad-free regular show a day early, behind-the-scenes photos and videos of our interviews, discounts on swag, which you can find on our website, and various other things that aren't available to regular listeners. But best of all, patrons like Jeff also get an unscripted, uncensored bonus episode every week where we riff on current events and random topics. We just finished recording this week's bonus show, and we chatted about the latest COVID info, including a great new site that consolidates a ton of data into an easy-to-read format, my appearance on my hometown news station and how I'm not really happy with the final edit, and information about the brand new Bangkok Podcast Discord server, where patrons can chat with me, Greg, and other patrons, and where we'll eventually, hopefully, be offering live streams and other goodies in the near future. To become a patron, head to bangkokpodcast.com/support.
It's a whole new world, man. We're jumping into technology we did previously did not understand.
We are so hip.
Totally, man. Word, as the kids say. All right. Hey, well, in this episode, we're going to jump into a topic that came up when we were discussing some common roles that expats can sometimes fall into, which we've gone ahead and distilled into 7 stereotypes that you have to be careful to avoid as an expat in Thailand. Now, to be clear, most of these, but not all, apply more to men than women, since men is what Ed and I are, in case you haven't noticed. And also, we're not saying that touching on one or more of these from time to time is anything to be ashamed of, because God knows both of us have definitely slid into these on more than one occasion. But rather, these are stereotypes that, if not recognized and remedied, may soon become your defining trait as an expat. And generally speaking, that is less than ideal.
Yeah, so I really like this topic, not least because I'm the one who thought of it. But I think that what I like about this, it was kind of hard to figure out what to call it, so I don't know what else to call it other than expat stereotypes. But the bottom line is these are 7, you could call them almost like moods, attitudes, maybe roles that as an expat, it's easy to slip into, unfortunately. So I can speak for myself, and you and I have talked about it. I know that, so out of these 7 negative stereotypes, I think I've been at least 6, like at least for a day.
Yeah, every once in a while.
Yeah, and those aren't my best days. So these
Yeah.
are, think of this as the person you don't want to become, that you should try to avoid. So in a way, it's kind of, we're trying to make an argument here for some self-awareness.
There's no shame in doing these things sometimes, but like I said in the intro, like just don't let it become who you are.
That's right.
So what's the first one?
I'm going to start with the two most iconic, and then I'll let you, I think you've got some good commentary on these two, but the two most iconic expat stereotypes that you want to avoid. The first one is the whiner. So we're going to call it the whiner, but this is, you could call them the complainer, the bitcher, the moaner, the kvetcher. This is the expat that is constantly complaining about Thailand, or Thai culture, or Thai people. Thai people are so fill in the blank, and people who just can't get out of this, and that's all they ever do.
Right.
Now, the cliche, of course, is that there are certain message boards online, which I won't name, Thai Visa, where there's a lot of bitching, moaning expats.
Yeah, although now it's changed to ASEAN, like an ASEAN-wide bulletin board thing. So now instead of hearing bitching and moaning from one country, you can hear bitching and moaning from like 14 countries or however many.
Yeah, so, and let me give the counterpoint. So the interesting thing about these first two stereotypes is I think there's two extremes, and they're both real. And the second stereotype is the opposite of the whiner. This is the person I would call the apologist, or maybe the Thai apologist. And this is the expat who is constantly defending Thailand, never seems to find anything wrong in Thailand, or if you aren't happy with something here, they like to think that we just don't understand Thailand.
Yeah.
Now, you and I have, the funny thing is you and I have talked about this many times, because some Thai people have this attitude that Farongs can't understand Thailand. But the next level is to realize that actually there's some Farongs who think they're the only ones who understand Thailand.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And when you say you don't like Thailand, it's because you don't get it. You don't understand Thai people. You don't understand Thai language. And it's always the foreigner's fault. It's never Thailand's fault.
Right.
That's the apologist.
Right. Regarding the apologist, it's, if you don't like it, go home is not sort of a blanket response to any legitimate criticism about your, adopted
That's right.
home.
That's a very good point. I was going to say, if you're wondering if someone is a Thai apologist, then as soon as they say this, as soon as they say, if you don't like it here, then leave, then you know that person is the Thai apologist, because what they're saying is you're not allowed to ever complain.
Right. Now, but this is going to get kind of meta here, because I think that response, if you don't like it here, then leave, can be lobbed at the whiner, because they just can't stop bitching about Thailand no matter what.
Right. Agreed. No, you're right. You're right. I guess that's the whole point of this. It's, of course, it's okay to sometimes criticize Thailand.
Sure.
But the question is when it's really your personality.
Yeah, exactly.
when your personality is to be a whiner, or a bitch, or a moaner, then
if you don't like it, go home becomes.
Then you might as well go home, I guess.
Right. But every person who lives in any country can have legitimate criticisms about that country. That's just common sense. So as long as you don't cross that line from legitimate criticism into, uncompromising bitching.
Dude, I feel that one of the visions you had for the podcast, I know you've talked about why you started the podcast, but it seems like you're trying to use an Americanism, you're trying to split the uprights. Like, you don't want to come on this podcast and just bitch and moan about living in Thailand, but you don't want to come on this podcast and always make excuses for Thailand, or you don't want to feel like you can't speak freely if you have a negative attitude. I feel like this is part of the goals of the podcast, to not be either the whiner or the apologist, but still be talking, not to go silent.
Yeah, totally. I'm here to learn. I'm a student. I want to ask questions and poke and prod and, improve my knowledge of my adopted culture and my adopted country. You can't do that unless you start asking questions and you throw around a little bit. But wouldn't it be better if this happened, or wouldn't it be better if it happened this way?
I think this is a good goal for an expat, especially if you're a longer term expat and you're trying to be the best expat you can be. I think this is a good goal, to not be the whiner, not be the apologist, but at the same time to be able to speak freely.
That's right. Totally.
That's it.
All right. Well, my first one, then I'm going to take on this one, and this is a funny name, but we've christened this one the Premature Pontificator. And this is someone who who has been here an inappropriately small amount of time.
Yeah, relatively short time, right?
Yeah, for the outsized opinions they have on how Thailand should work.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
I feel that after 20 years, I've earned enough street cred to be able to pontificate on Thailand a little bit.
That's right.
But when you're a guy that's been here for 3 months, you coming down with like, this is the problem with Thailand, like people are not going to take you very seriously.
I'm telling you, the Premature Pontificator is a real thing. That is not a joke. We're not making this stuff up. And it's not, this also is kind of tricky because I think expats should be outspoken, even if you've been here one day, whatever, it's your life. Whatever, if you had a bad experience driving in from the airport, then fine. But it's the over certainty. What happens with the Premature Pontificator is people are here for a relatively short time, but then they're sure they know what's wrong with Thailand or how Thailand can improve itself or what Thai people should do. It's the 3-month expert.
I had an experience with a Premature Pontificator years ago, and it was so choice, to quote Ferris Bueller, because it was like it was written for a movie. Because I think it was at RCA. I was outside drinking some whiskey or something with a bunch of people, and we were talking about something. And at that point, I'd been here about 10 years, and one of these guys was like, blah 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 blah, and I was like, I don't know, man. I don't think that's the way it happens. And he whipped out, I can't remember his exact words, but it was something like, well, I've been here like 3 years, so I kind of get how things are going. And I was like, really? 3 years? Wow. and the few people there that knew how long I'd been there were sort of like, but it was funny. It was a perfect setting.
But that actually raises a good point that it really depends on the situation, because there's, I think that there's even something that someone who's been here 10 years, they could still be the Premature Pontificator, because the longer you've been here, the more you realize what you don't know. But I think this is something, at least if you feel the mood to pontificate, just try to throw in a maybe or could be or possibly, instead of acting with such certainty that you've got all the solutions for Thailand's problems.
It's the same thing as in martial arts, man. If you know how to fight, don't go around assuming that you know how to fight everyone, because someone's going to know how to fight better than you. And if you challenge them, you're going to get your ass beat.
That's right. Very good point. All right. I've got another stereotype that I think, again, is undeniable. I don't think most of this stuff is up for debate too much. And I'm just going to call this guy the creep.
The creep.
Maybe there's not quite as many of these as people think, but stereotypes do exist for a reason. And the kind of lecherous, sleazy foreigner, the so-called sexpat, that is a real thing. That is not a fantasy. That is not a fantasy. And this is not a condemnation of just people who want to have a good time. That's not what I'm talking about. But this is the person who just acts socially inappropriately, typically towards Thai women. And I know these people exist because, I'm friends with many Thai women, and they have told me directly that if they're walking down the street on, let's say, Sukhumvit possibly, or maybe Soi 3 or Soi 4 on Sukhumvit, or kind of known expat dense areas, they are walking down the street and some white guy will come up to them and say, how much? Or Tao Rai. Dude, on the street. Can
you imagine the balls you'd have to say that to someone?
It's just rude. It's just clueless. It's crude and just dumb, and it's creepy. Yeah. The actual issue of Thailand's, red light business, that's actually a whole different question. Like, whatever you think about that, you can't walk down the street and just because you see someone who looks Thai or Asian, you assume she is a worker. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's the worst. It's the worst of Farangs in Thailand. Don't be the creep.
Yeah, it's just a gross cliche. Unfortunately, all too common. Yeah,
that's right.
So the next one I want to get into is called, I might need to get into a bit of explanation on this one, but we call this one the Slob.
Yes, the Slob. The slovenly expat, right?
The slovenly expat. And this is someone, we've all been here when we come over to Thailand on vacation, and we're all in our elephant pants or, cargo shorts and flip flops and
That's right.
a dusty old Chang t-shirt. And if you're on vacation, no one really cares. It's when that becomes your look and you just kind of never leave and it stays your look.
Right. It's expats that look like tourists on vacation. I think this is whatever, like you pointed out, you've got the right to do it. So if you want to do it, do it. But to me, I'm not into Farangs or expats who look like they're on a holiday all the time. It's almost like in their mind in Thailand, they're just always relaxed and they never have to get serious and they never have to present themselves. And I'm from the Midwest. I do not dress well, but I'm very cognizant of this idea that I don't want to just walk around here looking a way that I would not look back home. Right. If anything, Thailand is more conservative in public, and to me, they dress better. I think back home there is kind of a bum chic,
derelict.
Yeah, well, right. Well, it's just kind of cool to just look like a bum, But in Thai culture, it's actually not cool to look like a bum.
No, I think most Thai people put a premium on looking nice.
Yeah,
looking presentable
for sure,
smelling good, and
yeah,
and hey, like
for sure.
I've certainly gone down to the 7-Eleven or gone out to the meals around my neighborhood.
I did it today. Man.
Just a gross old shirt and
I was the slob. Okay, I got to admit, today I was the slob. I hadn't taken a shower, and I just had to go buy some stuff, and I was the slob today.
You put your mask on, you're like, I'm glad that we have to wear masks because I haven't brushed my teeth today, but I'm just going to 7-Eleven, so I don't care.
That's right.
So, I mean, it happens to everyone, right? But it's when you're that guy that like wears that, that ripped Sing muscle shirt that
that's
just like hanging off your shoulders, and you go out.
Yeah, and you've been in Thailand 7 years.
Yeah,
and it's like, dude, just dress like you live here. Don't.
Yeah, or like the Farang that takes his shirt off. That's an old classic. It's like, look around, man. Like no one looks like you.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So I like that. That's the slob.
Yeah.
All right. I got another one. So this one, I think is, it's probably a smaller number, but they definitely exist. And you came up with this name, which I love. The name is the Bubble Boy. And this is the foreigner or expat who lives inside of a foreigner bubble. And they essentially never associate or socialize with Thai people, don't take time to learn any of the Thai language, are not into kind of assimilating in really any way at all. And they live in a Farang world inside of Thailand. Yeah. Now, again, you got the choice. If you want to be a bubble boy or a bubble girl, go for it. But I don't know, to me, it tends to be associated with other bad habits. Like a lot of those people end up being pontificators or creeps, because they don't understand Thai culture. So it's whatever. I never have felt as an expat that I have a duty to become Thai. I don't think even Thai people want me to become Thai.
They probably prefer you didn't.
Yes, for sure. but I do think the bubble boy thing is just people who just it's as if they're not in Thailand.
Right.
They speak three. They can say Sawadi and Kap Kun Kap. That's it. And then there's no effort to learn about, understand, relate to Thai people, and it's just they live like you said it. They live in a bubble. So I don't think this is a good thing.
No, and this might seem a little bit rich coming from two guys who speak pretty crappy Thai after 20 years.
No, but still, I mean, just this podcast. this podcast shows that we're trying to learn and understand. We're trying to learn and understand about Thailand, and
but I've met a lot of people who go from their condo to their chauffeured car to their shopping mall to the steak restaurant and back again, and that's pretty much all they do. And they proudly say, like, I never eat Thai food. I've never learned any Thai. Don't need to.
That's right. I'm glad that in Bangkok you have the choice to do that a little bit. I think it makes it a little bit easier to assimilate. So this was my impression. When I got here, that I could live in a Western kind of world in Bangkok. I liked that option.
Yeah.
But I always thought of it as this temporary respite. If I want to, I can go to Starbucks. I can eat at McDonald's. I can hang out with my American friends. It's good. It's good. It's good. It's good that in Thailand, you're just not kind of forced to assimilate from day one.
Yeah, exactly,
it's a good thing. It's a good thing. But the weird thing is there's just a whole chunk of foreigners that there's zero effort to learn anything about Thailand.
Yeah, and at a certain point, you're just like, why are you here? Like, if you're getting like some fat expat package, like from some international company, okay, I get that. That's a good answer to why are you here.
The cliche, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. It's not absolute. I'm not going to become Thai, and I'm never going to act 100% like a Thai person. But I do think it's partially true. If you live in a country, you probably should learn something. And, more than 2 words, I mean, there is, Greg and I are non-braggers about Thai language, but Christ, you can learn more than Sawadi and Kap Kun Kap. Like, come on.
Yeah. And it's okay to retreat into that bubble every once in a while, like you said.
Yeah,
but
agreed.
But don't stay in there. Get out of that bubble.
That's right. All right, dude, we got one more, man. Go for it.
All right, the last one we're going to call the player. I'm actually going to change this one to the playa.
The player in quotes, right?
The playa, yeah. And this is someone who comes to Thailand, and back home they've never been treated any differently from anyone else. They're just another anonymous face in a large crowd. But when foreigners come to Thailand, for better or for worse, we're lucky enough to be sort of slotted into this unique social strata.
Right. We automatically become something special just because we're Westerners. Or we speak English as a first language or whatever it is.
Yeah, I would say that might even be a bit too strong. Special might be we're different, we're unique, and we're easy to identify, and people can use that to their advantage. But there are some guys that come over here, some people that come over here, and they get attention from girls or guys, or they're suddenly the life of the party, and they're going out all the time. And they just become bitter, and they say, like, you know what, this is a problem with people back home. They didn't see me for how awesome I am.
That's right.
They don't realize that sort of they've injected themselves into a new life where that differentiation is thrust upon them, not through anything they did.
Right. I love this stereotype called the player, because to me, this is all in how you process what's happened to you. So, for example, so the cliche is there's some guy who, for whatever reason, back home, he's never had a girlfriend or never had any action or never had attention. So I think there's a lot of reasons for that. But let's just say whatever. But then he comes to Thailand either on holiday or he stays over here, and all of a sudden, girls are more into him. Or his status goes up. So again, we did a whole show on the difficulty of being a Western woman in Thailand. So we talked about this whole issue of how obviously a numerical system is kind of crude, but it's kind of like you can be a 5 back home and you step off the plane in Thailand and you're an 8.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Or often, not to generalize, but often it's the opposite for girls. You're an 8 back home, you step off the plane, and you're a 4, and no one's giving you any attention. So we've talked about this before. So to me, the issue here is how you process that difference. And I think the player stereotype is the guy, this is how I know it. It's the guy who thinks he's the reason why that he's now getting all this attention. So instead of saying like, oh, I'm in a different culture and I'm different to them, hence my populator has gone up. So what to me what's really going on here is just some cross-cultural stuff.
Right.
And more power to you. So if you're more popular over here than back home, have at it, Haas. Like that, but to me is how you process it. And so unfortunately some guys, they end up saying, I was great back home, but those damn Western women couldn't figure me out or something, or there's something, they blame society back home for why they weren't popular. And then over here, they're like, so they really think they've always been a player. I was a player back in high school.
Just that everyone I ever met never knew it.
That's right. So like I said, I love people reinventing themselves in their life. And I think life is weird, and sometimes you live somewhere and your life's not happening. So it ain't happening. And so whether you stay in the States and you just move to another city, and all of a sudden shit's happening. Like you met this person, and it's life is weird, and
you get the chance to sort of reestablish yourself as everyone reestablish yourself as anyone.
Yeah, everyone needs a restart or reboot, and so I'm all for that. But I'm not for people when they process that, when their life turns around, that they start blaming like society, and to me it becomes like an ego thing. I think the best thing to do is either to say like, oh wow, like back home I'm a 5, now I'm a 7 because I'm a foreigner. Right. and foreigners have a certain appeal of whether it's exoticism or a presumption that we have more money. So I mean, I think as long as you know why you've either moved up, then that's what it's about. But people who think that they really are a player, and I'm like, no, dude, you are not really a player. You are not.
Well, Ed, since I am the king of analogies, I'm going to whip one out here. It's like getting your ass beat in a regular karate class, and then you go and join like a karate class for kids, and you become like, you give everyone a beat down. You're like, man, I've always been awesome at karate. It's just those guys never gave me a chance.
Yeah.
It's like, no, man, the environment's changed around you. You're the same person.
Anyway, so there you go. I'm actually curious what our listeners think about if there are any others. So there are some other stereotypes I have, but they're much more narrow. I really feel that these 7 are almost undeniable. So that's why I want to know what our listeners think. So basically, we've got the Whiner, the Apologist, the Premature Pontificator, the Creep, the Slob, the Bubble Boy, and the Player. I think these are the top 7, man.
Yeah, I think they're pretty good. And again, I mean, I'm probably repeating myself, but if you want to do one or many of these or all of them, go nuts, man. Up to you. That's good.
Go nuts. We just won't like you very much.
But I think as foreigners, and we've talked about this before, as foreigners, we are sort of de facto ambassadors for foreignerdom, and we have a responsibility to be maybe more of a responsibility to be quote unquote upstanding citizens, and we need to keep an eye on that.
That's not the way I think about it. I think about it as just be like a decent person,
right.
And so I think these are just some bad habits to fall into, and I think you should avoid them. But you do you.
I'll tell you what, though, first thing tomorrow morning, I'm not even going to brush my teeth, shower. I'm going to go right down to 7-Eleven and buy some bananas. I'm going to wear my pajamas. I'm going to look like a slob.
That's fine, as long as you say, "Oh my God, I'm being the slob now." Then this show will have purpose.
There goes the slovenly expat. All right, good list. All right, let's get into some love, loathe, or live with, where one of us picks a particular aspect of living in Bangkok, which we then discuss and decide if it's something we love about living here, loathe about living here, or have come to accept as something that we just have to learn to live with no matter how we feel about it. And last time I asked Ed what he thought about the red dragon fruit, so this week it's Ed's turn to quiz me.
All right, dude, I've got something that I think is going to be an easy one. 3 words that should strike fear into the heart of most rational people. Okay. So here are my 3 words. Ketchup on pizza.
I wish you hadn't done this one because I know I'm going to come out. I'm live with ketchup on pizza.
Dude, I know you are not a loathe?
No. I know it's an unpopular opinion. I'm prepared to take the savage beating I'm about to get.
You deserve a savage beating. Ketchup on pizza is just wrong. I mean, I'm not saying it should be illegal. I'm just saying it's morally wrong.
I'm just saying that everyone who does it should be thrown in prison.
That's right.
No, look, I already like pineapple on pizza because I'm Canadian. I love it.
Damn, right? Dude, what are you doing here, man?
You're not a pineapple guy?
This is blasphemy. Are you kidding? A pineapple does not belong on pizza. It doesn't.
Well, this is where we just have to agree to disagree, and clearly your opinion is wrong. But I'm not going to say I don't put ketchup on my pizza. But
thank God. I mean, if you did that, you would immediately lose your Canadian citizenship.
I'd be like, I'm looking for a new co-host of the Bangkok podcast, Mike. We're just got to quit.
Dude, no, I think it's, I'm telling you, you'd lose your legal status. I think it's automatic.
I might. But I don't put ketchup on pizza. But in the past, when I have happened to have ketchup on pizza.
So you've tried it.
I've tried it, and I've kind of been like, damn, it's not so bad. Like, it's...
All right, I don't know. I don't think we talk about this much more. This could generate some bad blood.
Your face is turning incandescent with rage. In fact, your face is becoming the color of ketchup.
Yeah, I'm shocked that I have to make clear that I'm a loathe, and it just should not be done ever, Don't even think about it. It's a little bit it's a little bit like that line in Spinal Tap about everyone in the guitar scene, they always talk about it goes to 11, but there's that other thing where he says like, don't look at that, don't even think about it. He's like, I think it was like an amp, or what was it? Maybe it was a guitar. Do you remember
that part? No.
Yeah, I think it was just a high-end guitar or amp, and he was like, that's expensive, right? And he's like, yeah, don't even look at that, don't even think about it. It's just like, don't even think about putting ketchup on pizza. It's just,
to hell with that. I'm going to think about it, and I'll probably do it again. I don't care.
Oh, damn, no, shh.
I'm crazy.
Okay, we have to move on. So as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, we'd like to say thank you to Jeff Allen for lending us his support at the show shout-out level. And Greg, what did you find out about Jeffrey?
Well, at the beginning of the show, Ed, we said that Jeff was our new leather guru. I may have jumped the gun there and made a few assumptions about our buddy Jeff, but apparently he is friends with many of our previous guests. And he wrote to me and said, it's great to be listening to your show at a time when most of the world is being deprived of Thailand. This is a great escape. As a friend and client of Dan Fraser, who has been on the show many times, a good friend of ours, for 20 plus years, I have traveled with family and friends all over the kingdom, but I have not done all 76 provinces yet. Great listening to wise Derek Van Pelt as well, who was a previous guest of ours, also participated in his Siam Wheels motorcycle venture as a client.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So I just sort of assumed that because he was riding a Harley on Thailand's northern windy roads, that he had some pretty sweet leather riding gear.
Dude, that's a little bit of a throwback. That's kind of like I feel you just outed yourself as like someone who grew up in the 70s and 80s.
Well, I mean, come on. Leather is timeless. Leather pants. Anyway, I got onto a tangent. But I assuming that Jeff has been on a couple of awesome Siam Wheels adventures up north. Have you ever ridden on any of those drives?
I have not.
They're amazing. Thailand's northern roads are just awesome for motorcycle riding. And I think a lot of people maybe unfairly think that they're dangerous, more dangerous than they are. I'm not saying they're safe, but just some superb vistas and great well-paved roads in northern Thailand.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's cool that Jeff was a client of Siam Wheels back in the day. And I think that when he comes over here, when he's allowed to come over here again, he should maybe take us on a little motorcycle trip.
I'd like to do that. Let's do it.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. And Jeff, if you can bring over maybe a 4XL pair of leather pants for me, I'll squeeze into those, get on the bike.
Oh, and some maple syrup. Oh, if you can get some maple syrup, that'd be great too.
And if the leather pants are too small, I can use the maple syrup to slide into the pants.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, we got to move on. Okay.
Got way off on a tangent.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, sir.
A final thanks to our patrons who support the show. Patrons get a ton of cool perks and the warm, fuzzy feeling, knowing that they're helping support the show. Find out more by clicking support on our website. And connect with us online. We're Bangkok Podcast on social media, bangkokpodcast.com on the web, or simply bangkokpodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from our listeners and always reply to our messages.
True that. You can also listen to each episode on YouTube. You can send us a voicemail online that we'll use on the show, or even reach out to me directly on Twitter, where I am BKK Greg. So thanks for listening, everyone. Take care out there. Stay safe, and see you back here next week.
Definitely.